everyone. It's your host, the letter Z. Welcome back to the Pref and Ref podcast. As always, we're very happy to have everyone listening. Today's a very special episode. We're going to have a special guest. It's going to be an interview episode. Let's just go ahead and mention who's joining us today. We have our co-host, Demonic. We have our very often individualized host, Void.
Hey, guys.
We have Arcade with us as well, which is our first time on the podcast and helped produce most of this from the very beginning, so we're happy to have him on too.
Glad to be here.
And of course, our very special guest. If you haven't heard of this man, you will eventually, and you should definitely look him up if you haven't. This man is amazing. His name is Lubu. Any words you want to say?
How is up? Sorry, I interrupted you. How is up, everyone? It's good to be here.
Thank you for having us interview you. We're very happy to be able to do this. So, as an introduction for those that have not heard of you possibly, can you say a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit of background on who you are, and obviously how you got into YouTube, and that's one of the things they'll know about you when they Google you up.
Sure. So I am known as Lü Bu Feng Xian on the YouTube channels. I started YouTube actually way back when it first came out in like 2006 or something like that. I just kind of put up videos of whatever I felt like doing. Eventually, I just, put up scraps of me playing arcade games with my buddies, eventually going into guild videos, and then putting up compilations of, like, stuff in Skyrim. But I never really took it seriously. It wasn't until, like, 2015 or so when I started playing Xenoverse that, oh, man, all of a sudden the subscriber just goes up because apparently people like watching me act like an idiot on YouTube. That's pretty much how that went, and eventually I got into Fire Emblem Heroes, and, well, the rest is as it goes.
Yeah. I mean, many people must know a lot of details about, your career in Fire Emblem Heroes, as, of course, Brain Damage is the brand, and it's amazing. I know you have a lot of fans everywhere. I don't know if many people know about this, about you, but I think you touched on it, right? You started in total about 13 years ago, right? More or less?
Yeah, it was a very long time ago.
Wow. So, when it comes to the games that you choose to play, as you mentioned, you kind of play different ones. Was there one that really, maybe made you want to start uploading?
Well, I kind of play everything that whatever that I'm playing at the time. I guess strategy games. I know, it's kind of ironic given my name. I actually like strategy games a lot, so I would end up playing Romance of Three Kingdoms, or like Total War, or something like that. And, of course, recently I've gotten into Arc Knights, so I'm playing that a lot right now. Strategy games, basically, but I play every kind of game. Action games, racing games, sports, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I remember watching your videos when you were playing games like The Witcher 3, and you really give a lot of different genres a try as well, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I just like playing games in general.
Well, we're very happy that you are, because otherwise we wouldn't have this kind of content. I know that one of the things that Fire Emblem fans must know about you is the summoning videos, or some of your top-rated ones, and it's probably the ones that I've used personally to indoctrinate some of my friends into subscribing and watching you.
Really?
And, yeah. It inspires us to dig deep into our wallets, man, and find that hidden power to get that gem, those gems, man. Like recently, the new banner that I think a lot of people have been summoning on is the young heroes banner, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have to say much, but man, you created a few monsters over the years.
It's fun. I always like building things, building models, building cars, building units. Just building things in general is interesting.
Yeah. So on the podcast with us, we have Void, and Void has he has a fascination with space engineers. Have you ever heard of this game before?
I've heard of that game. Actually, I think I played it for a little bit, but it ended up bugging out for me, so it didn't work out. But I know about that game. I wanted to play it.
So there's these type of games that are like building simulators and more like exploratory ones. I've seen you do a few of those before as well. But before we get into that, just to get to know you a little bit more, do you have any influences when it comes to things like anime or like entertainment in general that you tend to like or you follow?
Influences? Let me think. Well, when it comes to anime and such, I'm actually pretty old school, you know. I haven't really kept up with any newer stuff, and by newer stuff, I mean like stuff that comes out after like 2009 or even just 2000 in general. I'm very old school. I like to watch the old Dragon Ball stuff, you know, Ranma and stuff like that. But the new stuff, it's gonna leave me like, I don't know what that is, because I just stopped watching TV and anime altogether. I mean, I guess I do know what they are, but I don't really like actually watch it as much or as religiously as I used to.
Gotcha. So what was the first anime that you remember encountering?
Oh, it was definitely Dragon Ball Z. Come now, that was the best.
The seed of addiction, they say, right?
Yeah. I mean, I used to watch it with my dad back in Hong Kong, and we would talk about, you know, their power levels, you know, ooh, what does Frieza's next transformation looks like? Because I'm, you know, at school, I can't stay up to watch TV because Dragon Ball is a violent TV show, and they don't let us watch it earlier on. We have to only get to watch it at night, and of course, I have to go to school, so I can't watch it at night. Very sad.
So, were the other kids in school? Did you guys ever talk about like Dragon Ball or what happened the last?
Oh yeah, dude, we talk about that shit all the time. We talk about it all the time.
Oh man, so what was your most iconic moment for Dragon Ball? Because each person on the podcast here has like a favorite. So, what's your most iconic moment in Dragon Ball series, and what's your favorite, you know, character that you relate to most?
Oh, come now. Dragon Ball, I mean, I don't know when this became a Dragon Ball podcast, but I suppose the most iconic moment, and definitely the Super Saiyan thing one. Went like way back when the old school, when it first actually happened, when like everyone was just freaking out in like in school. I mean I'm talking about like the early 90s. This was some crazy stuff.
So you're talking about the epic fight between Frieza and Goku for the first time, right?
Yeah, of course. It was the best saga, indeed.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So I have to ask. I would be remiss if I don't ask. What is your favorite between Goku and Vegeta? What team are you?
That's a harsh question. That's a really tough question. See, damn it. That's I didn't expect to get asked about Dragon Ball Z of all things here, but that's a tough question. See, I like Vegeta because especially the Saiyan and Frieza saga Vegeta, because I think he's an asshole. I kind of like a lot of even back then, a lot of guys like edgy characters. We like our Vegetas, we like our Heiyes, we like our Hero Yuis, that sort of stuff back in the day. So
what about full hair?
What's that?
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, what about full hair Krillin?
Ooh, Krillin. Yeah, Krillin. Well, he helped. He helped. Yeah.
He got a participation medal that day.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I like Goku a lot, but I mean, he I thought he was cool too, especially as he gets older, because he was cool as a kid, but as he gets older, he's cool. But if you're gonna ask me about which one I like more, unfortunately, I guess I would have to say Vegeta. I think as a character, he grew the most in the series. Goku, he's always kind of been the same.
Well, you get some points from us, because I think most of the people in this podcast say Vegeta as well, right?
I'm a Vegeta person.
Imani?
Yep, I'm a Vegeta person.
So you may not know this, but on our first couple episodes, we did a lot of talking about anime. You know, like Samurai Champloo, Samurai. What was his name? You had mentioned you liked it, Monica. It was Ronin Kenshin.
Oh yeah, Kenshin.
And Trigun. These are animes you probably saw at some point as well, right? Or do these
Of course.
probably...
Huge fan of Kenshin. I love that.
So let me ask this, because I since I followed you and since I've been a subscriber, one thing has been very consistent for me. I've noticed that you might not, I don't know. Okay, so how do I word this? I think everybody, as they grow up watching anime, one way or another, you become influenced by your favorite characters or the cast of characters that you watch on a show. Obviously, seeing as everybody really has a universal love for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and everything Dragon Ball, do you notice any personality traits that you might have, maybe absorbed by watching some of these?
Good question. That's a good question. I mean, I guess acting like a chuny in general, or talking about my power levels when I'm summoning and stuff like that, would have something to do with it. I don't know about, other things such as brain damage or something like that, but I mean, I'm always constantly talking about power levels or fate or something like that along the lines. It's just what it means to be a total chuny.
I think you're not alone, man. And for sure, you know what? I have to say, for me personally, I think I see a lot of qualities from like Goku in you, man, which is really cool. I think every time you have a friend who's also a fan, you pick up things about them, I have glasses and I constantly end up fixing them like Jin does in Samurai Champloo. I don't know if you've seen, I'm sure I think you have, right?
No, I haven't.
No? Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, it's fine. Samurai Champloo was one of those Adult Swim animes that would pop up, just like Trigun, at midnight when all the kids were supposed to be sleeping, but yet everyone stayed up to watch them, And it's it's a character trait in most of anime where they push up their glasses. Did you ever watch like Bleach or Naruto?
They use their middle fingers to do it. I see it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember watching anything else like Naruto, for example? That's another big one, right?
Of course. Definitely watch that. Best season is season 1.
Yeah, that's true. The Koji Bridge, or what was it? The bridge arc where Zabuza?
Yeah, oh, dude. Back then it was like, oh yeah, ninja fights are about skill. Ninja fights about using the proper tools. It feels more ninja. Whereas later on, it turns into, well, more Dragon Ball Z, I guess.
Yeah, you can see the influence change a lot. But, so, in Naruto, do you feel like... I want to kind of broaden the spectrum as we go through this, because this really helps us, and everyone else listening, and those that are going to listen, an opportunity to get to know the character sheet that is Lubu. Because every person is a compilement of experiences, of conversations you have with people, and also the media entertainment that you intake as you're growing up. So, from Naruto itself, was there any specific characters that you feel influenced you? Like, man, that's a cool guy. I like the way he talks. I like the way he walks. I like the way he handles these situations. I don't like the way he handles these situations. Which ones really stand out to you?
Well, we were just talking about Zabuza, and despite the fact that Zabuza has very little screen time after, him getting his ass kicked. I always liked his character. He even acts like a piece of shit. But in reality, he's actually, a big softie. A big softie for Haku. I always loved that. And, I always thought that they would be the best. They are the best villains for the show, period. The others later, I mean, some of them are memorable. But I would never forget Zabuza and Haku, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people feel that way. That's why they ended up getting brought back. I thought that was kind of stupid, but yep, they ended up getting brought back. It was interesting.
For me personally, there was that moment. Zabuza, the fight with Zabuza was really the moment that many people became hardcore fans. And another moment that really shines in my memory when I look back at all the things that made impacts in my memory is the fight between Gaara and Rock Lee. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of instantaneous movements going on around that one.
Yeah. And I think that reminded me a lot of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. You know, especially like if you compare it to like the Majin Buu versus Goku Super Saiyan 3. It's one of those epic moments. You're like, no way, he's gonna win this one without a problem. And then things don't turn out the way you expect.
Yeah. I mean, I like that too, but I just can't get over the fact that it's just, how should I put it? It's just power. It's just a lot. There's just more power rather than power and technique at the same time.
Yeah, true. So as you were growing, you saw these two at and you said it was something that kind of you and your dad, or you and your family kind of did together. Maybe just you and him, right? It was a thing that brought you guys together and something you could bond over. Was there anything else that you guys did similar to that?
Well, we play Game Boys and we build Gundam models. That was cool.
That's cool. Dude, what was the first kind of Gundams you remember building? And this is
the original one.
The original one. You're talking about like before.
Just plain Gundam. Just plain Gundam.
Nice. Well, so then, as you're continue to grow, you get into you develop a love for video games, which really shows, as well as the huge backlog of knowledge that you have when it comes to like things like references to the Dark Realm, obviously from Yu-Gi-Oh and things like that. These type of things. At what point did you? What was the first game you remember playing, and at what point do you remember saying, this is something I really want to pursue, as a, maybe a hobby in the long term?
What was the first game? What do you mean, like the first game I ever played, or what?
Mm-hmm. What was the first game you remember playing ever? The first one.
Shit. That's a good question. I don't want to say Tetris because I know I played something else before that. Was it? Let's see. Search deep in with my mind. Honestly, I can't remember. It's really vague because it's been a while, but it might have been a fighting game. It could have been Street Fighter, but it's just too long ago. I can't remember.
Okay, so you had said that as you grew to love video games, you gravitated towards the real-time strategy or just general strategy games, war simulators, that type of stuff. But obviously you play things like The Witcher, things like Metal Gear, things, a huge variety. You're talking about the Warrior series as well, which also has action and strategy. How did which games led up to the discovery of things like the Warrior series? Do you remember like maybe a few of the things that
it was just to Warriors is just because I know about the history in general. I mean, being Chinese, I know plenty about the Three Kingdoms, and when I came and I saw this game, I recognized the name instantly, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. I want to play as the characters in there. Back then, I was, shamefully, I was actually a fan of Shu, but eventually, come to learn more of their histories, I gravitate to more interesting characters, such as yours truly. Because Dynasty Warriors 3 is a huge influence when it comes to not pursuing Lu Bu.
So what part of the history, French? I just want to get a good idea, because I think there's a lot of questions people have about, your love for video games. It's so obvious and it's so cool to see somebody, pursue it that way. Hey, as you played the Warrior series, you mentioned you were very familiar with the history, being that it's something that you probably learned as you were growing up. What other genres within the strategy game did you begin to develop a like for? Because I know that you play Fire Emblem now. You played Fire Emblem before the mobile.
Oh, sorry. Well, I mean, like, just RPGs in general. I mean, like, even way back then, before we were talking about Dynasty Warriors, there are, like, Three Kingdoms RPGs. They're really old, in fact, like on the NES. What was it called again? Destiny of an Emperor. That was a really, really old game, and I never owned it. I actually just saw someone play it in Shanghai, and I thought, wow, that is so cool. Oh, I love RPGs. So that was a strategy game, despite the fact that it's an RPG. There's quite a bit of decent amount of strategies in there. It was a fun game. I thought that was interesting. Of course, I mean, there was that, and then there was fighting games. Fighting games itself has its own strategies, but I'm sure you already know that. So, in the end, I just I play all the games that I could play, pretty much.
Wow. Yeah. I know that you're also a big fan of Nintendo products and Nintendo itself. I mean, obviously, because of Fire Emblem, it's a very big influence in your channel and something that you play. I'm a big fan of Smash Brothers, and in general, like when you talk about fighting, that's one of the ones that comes to mind. I know that you played it a few times. Is that something you do with friends locally where you live, or is something kind of you play online? What's your preference for those kind of games?
Oh, definitely locally. I've started locally since the beginning of time when it came out on 64. Oh man, that was the best game ever. I played with my friend all the time. I would after school just go to my buddy's home and we just play that.
Wow. Was there ever a character you liked? And what was your main? And do you follow the Smash Brothers scene at the moment?
Right now I don't follow any competitive things or anything like that. In fact, the latest games I don't really play all that much. At first, I would say my main on the original Smash would be Pikachu, because I always liked guys who are fast and can do a considerable amount of damage, and he's got a little bit of tech thanks to Thunder, so I like him. Later, I went and in Melee I played Marth, because we all know what Marth does, grab a million miles away and using a tip of his sword to send people flying a million miles away. And then afterwards, I think it was Brawl. It was Brawl, right? And I ended up playing Ike, actually. I wasn't even all that into Fire Emblem at the time, because, well, way back then, Fire Emblem was kind of just a regular RPG. So up until Awakening, yeah, that's when things started to change. But before then, it was I picked those guys because they use swords, because they have certain reaches. I thought they were cool, and they still are cool. But yeah, in Brawl I played Ike, and then afterwards, I think in the Wii U, I still play Ike. I played Ike a lot. I like Ike a lot. I like the whole solid hitting style that he has. When you land a smash attack on someone with his big ass sword, you could feel the impact. He's much better than Marth for my playstyle, but if I want to actually win, I'll probably still play Marth.
Man, that's good. That's cool. I think Ike has one of the best, if not one of the best ranges, especially in this new version on the Switch. As long as we're talking about range, we're also talking about Ganondorf, right? Both of these people with their gigantic swords, one hit and it's like they split your head open almost. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. So did you
it's actually really.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. I was just gonna say, I like the whole, if you screw up once against these guys, you get sent flying away, sort of thing. But I didn't really play much of the Switch version, since you were talking about that. I only played very little. I bought the game. I literally just played it for that one night, and I admittedly I haven't played much since because I was busy with other things.
Oh, I can imagine. The one thing that sucks is as you get older, you really have to compartmentalize the time you have available, and it seems the more responsibilities you get, the more chance, the more resources you have to buy games, but the less time you have to actually enjoy it.
Pretty ironic, I know.
It really sucks, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it sucks.
Do you have, in between the times you have, I know that you game, but do you ever follow the scenes of a certain game? Like, Smash has a competitive scene. Same with Fighter and other games like this. Do you follow any of those scenes yourself?
Nah, not really. I don't have time.
Yeah, it's always a hard thing. So the one thing that got you, now we get to more modern history. I know that you eventually got into Fire Emblem Heroes. Is that something you played from as soon as the game dropped, or is that something you kind of what is this? I'm gonna try it out.
Actually, it seemed like it might have been the case, because it's been 3 to 4 years by now. But at first, I had no interest in it. I wasn't even going to play it, because around that time I had just gotten off of some other shitty gachas. wasting a whole lot of money. I thought to myself in self-reflection, man, I'm a terrible person. Why am I wasting all that money on crap like that? I'm going to stop playing cell phone games. And, well, I ended up playing Nier Automata with my buddy Mid, and during the middle of it, he was talking about Fire Emblem Heroes. He was talking about, oh, dude, this game is pretty cool. Hey, listen, there's this guy named Carol. I think you're going to like him a lot. He talks about, when he levels up, he talks about stacking up people's bodies all the way to the sky. And he's got this cool sword, this Wadao that does, like, extra damage when he uses specials. Yada, 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 yada. But mainly, she's trying to appeal to me by using Carol. And you know what? Carol is a very... a brain damage character. He's certainly has mental issues, and I thought I like that guy a lot myself as well. Alright, fine, I'll give it a shot. I'll play a little bit, and, we'll have some fun with that, and, we're still playing Nier Automata, so I thought that, hey, it's just gonna be a one-time thing, wouldn't be much of anything. And then, eventually, we end up talking about, how we did in the arena, and, the characters that we summoned, whatever we built back then. Back then the 5 stars actually, we just summoned one or two and everything is fine. It wasn't like, oh yeah, let's plus 10 these things. No, everybody was content with their plus zeros, and we just kind of played the game to have fun. And eventually he stopped playing it, which made me a little disappointed, but I ended up playing a little too much, and well, I guess having not as much self-control as other people, I spent a decent chunk on it already. So I ended up being a really bad guy, and I tried to get the refunds for what I have done. Let's just say within the first 2 weeks, I spent $1,000. I spent $1,000 because I'm a horrible person. Wow. It was the yeah, I know. I know. It was that stupid Ninian banner, and with all the with carols and friends and all that stuff. I ended up, at the time it was Setsuna who was really popular. So I thought to myself, hey, I'm gonna go and summon some Setsuna. She's only 3 to 4 stars. How hard could it be? She never popped up. I ended up getting 5 stars out the ass. She never popped up. By the time I spent $1,000, I finally got 11 copies of her. And then I was like, oh shit, look at all these 5 stars I have laying around here. And I'm looking at my account, all of a sudden I'm like, all this crap laying around, and I'm just like, oh shit, what the fuck did I do? I did something wrong. So I went and tried to go to Google to get that refunded, and I managed to get a decent refund off of them. But I didn't get all of it, of course. Then I shouldn't be able to get all of it. But I was like, okay, well, I'll lay off for the moment. But seeing how I have a ton of sunk costs, I never did. I ended up going, you know what, I still get some value out of it. I'll have some fun with it. I didn't, at the time, I didn't even think about making videos for it. I did eventually made one, about fighting Navarre, but that was pretty much it. I was just really concerned about what I've just done. And my buddy, who was sticking with me for a couple months after, what I've done, eventually quits. I was like, ooh, I was in a tough spot. I just wasn't sure what to do with the game.
Wow. So when you were playing it, I mean, it was kind of a new experience, but you had already played Awakening, so you kind of knew, right, at this point, how the game worked and everything. It wasn't like a completely new thing.
Yeah, except, there's no misses. Those are so terrible. And random-ass critical hits that rips your face off, that sort of things. But yeah, I definitely I already had experience with Awakening. Awakening was like, what, year 2010 or 2011, 12 or something like that. Anyway, I already had experience with that, so I was a huge fan of Fire Emblem as it was. But, that just drove me over the edge because, hey, I get to play all these fun characters. The gameplay actually wasn't so bad. Hey, the devs actually, liked their players. Well, way back then anyway. Everybody, it was the golden age of Fire Emblem Heroes at the time. Everybody was just singing the devs' praises back then.
Yeah, obviously that's changed over the years for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with the most recent creeps here, the creep up in stats. So I have 3 questions, and I'm going to ask them consecutively. So maybe if you need a reminder, just let me know. But when you played Fire Emblem, what was the moment where you're like, okay, I'm hooked? Besides your friend getting you into it, you said you played a little bit. So what got you hooked, and what things do you now have you grown to dislike? Because obviously things have changed, and I also want to know what things you like. But let's start with those 2 things. So at this point, what got you hooked into the game when you started playing it?
Well, I think the old Fire Emblem was basic, but I mean, they did have supports, but it was all noodles in noodle Japanese, so I didn't really care much for it. In fact, it's because of that it felt like a regular ass game, regular RPG, strategy RPG. I was like, oh, whatever, dude. But as Awakening came out in English, I played it, and I was like, whoa, dude! The best part isn't the gameplay. The best part was the fact that you could support, and you could support with just about anyone. You'll see these characters that you use, and them building relationships with each other. Your own character building relationship with each other. I thought that was cool. That's really cool. I thought that was very, very fun, especially later on. Eventually you get like kids that you could use, and they also have unique dialogues with them. My favorite support was the one with Cynthia and Robin. That was a very, very good one. If you're father to Cynthia, that one was pretty good. It's a good tearjerker. But as for what eventually made me get sick of it was, let's see, I would say, eventually I think they got carried away with it. I think what happens with Fate is that I think they took too much of what made Awakening popular, and it went crazy with it, shall we say. So eventually I think that there was a lot of pandering, and it just wasn't the same as it was with Awakening, especially with the whole Dark Realm thing.
Oh yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're taking it too far. Instead of introducing new things, they want to play it safe, and they kind of squeeze out the mechanics people like. They juice it so much that there's nothing new anymore. It's nothing exciting. It just seems kind of similar. Just rewrapped her.
That's why I think Three Houses was a good refreshment from it. It was good. Three Houses was my personal favorite now.
Definitely. I think I saw you play. You've been playing the lunatic and maniac almost, modes. Man,
yeah.
That's crazy. I'm not even gonna admit it because I don't want people to message me and start making fun of me. But I've got stuck in a few parts, so I'm thinking I'm gonna replay it and just do it fresh. But when it comes to the mobile version, I know that they're gonna introduce characters. In the mobile version, there's lots of complaints and there's lots of praises. What are a few complaints you have for like mobile? Fire Emblem Heroes mobile.
And complaints? Oh shit, dude, there's like a huge line of that. Well, the problem with Fire Emblem Heroes, I discussed this in a video a long time ago, but I always talk about it honestly. It's that I think that the game is poorly designed. See, a lot of people misunderstand that when I say that it's poorly designed. I don't mean like that the gameplay or the characters or its presentations are bad, but the way it makes money is flawed. Because back then, we have mechanics. We have a huge list of mechanics. Well, maybe not huge, but we have a good chunk of mechanics that follows Fire Emblem in general. And then there are also some techniques that, would be overpowered, such as Blade Tome or Vantage. Well, at least they had the foresight to make Vantage not work like the ones in the game. But still, we have Blade Tome and something like that way back in the day. So it was something that made tomes very hard to summon for, because you could just use a Blade Tome. Only new tomes should be compared to it. Yada yada yada. So eventually they came out with all kinds of countermeasures to do it. But the problem I find it also is that we have the merge system. We have all that. There's just a whole bunch of ways that they had planned the game to make money in the long run, but eventually, though, you have to release these power creeps. But I don't think they did it right. I think they did it too quickly, and they focus way too much on stats, so that these characters are just plain better than the other ones. There's no real strategy involved when it comes to just plain numbers, whereas gameplay mechanics would have been a lot more tolerable. I mean, I summoned for Close Call when it came out, like as soon as it came out, because I love that kind of stuff, although it is overpowered as hell. I'm not even going to deny that it isn't overpowered as hell, but, you know, at least it was a game mechanic or something like that. It has a weakness in the fact that you have to be faster than your opponent. So, I thought that the way that Fire Emblem Heroes was built, it was, I don't think they had put the fact that it would become such a popular game into consideration. So it eventually become a thing where they're desperately finding ways to try to get people to pay money. I mean, it wasn't until like recently, though, that they finally came up with some decent solutions. But I wouldn't even call them that decent. I mean, they could have gone and done Fay Pass much better if they had just included the skin. You know, if they had just given quality of life to everyone and just included skin and some other crap like that, hey, you know, it would have been just like one of those stupid starter Burger King pack, and people would have been perfectly fine with that, despite the fact that, oh yeah, you get 2 to all stats with that character. Because you know what, 2 to all stats at this point doesn't really matter for Gen 1 units. They just turn them into Gen 3, and even then, their stats aren't, like, optimized. It was just given, like, spread all over the place. So that extra BST doesn't really mean much of anything. But, you know, it was still something. It at least made you feel better using those old units that has been kind of depreciated. And I remember, you know, complaining about this a lot, because what happens with guys who started early, like myself, we build like plus 10 units and they're, well, depreciated. It makes you feel like shit that your old units are kind of like, well, you know, you spend all that money merging them. They're garbage now. I guess you could use certain skill inheritance. Skill inheritance saved the game, I think, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, if you can skill inherit into the character that you use. But now, I think I would say, instead of chasing for powers, you should chase for the characters you like, and then focus on skill inheritance on them and turning them into horrible monsters. Although I will still probably talk about new banners when they come, but I kind of lost interest in that. I didn't really talk much about the new kids banner, except showing that one thing with Marth on 420.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. 77 attack, like that totally breaks the game, man. You can chop through anything, and be in a
well, I mean, that was sorry, that was with 5 Dumas. I mean, I tend to use Duma a lot in my setups, because I really should post up my 5 Duma defenses. It's the most deplorable thing in the whole universe, and anything that has attack and vantage will wipe the map. It is a very disgusting thing. It makes me sick. I don't know why I did it. Even today, I woke up, I look at my defense, I'm like, oh shit, 2 Japanese person just died painfully to this stupid setup of 5 Dumas and 1 Gay Clown Grania. Because Duma just gives so much attack after you stack 5 of them, and then he does this whole AoE, he just does his whole damage thing right in the beginning. It is really stupid. It ruins the game, and I love doing it.
You know what? I feel like they should add like a little feature. Every time you lose a defense, they should take a quick snapshot or record them like 2 seconds to see your facial reaction. You know how funny that would be to go back and watch every defense and you see how they react when they lose?
Yeah, it would be pretty funny. It would be pretty funny.
A lot of angry faces, let me say that for sure. Now, would you ever look forward to a PvP aspect to Fire Emblem Heroes? Because that's something that was promised and then silently, removed, as in like never to be mentioned again. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I think that's a good strategy. They probably shouldn't have regular PvP in the game. Having played Langrisser when it came out, we get a good taste of what Fire Emblem PvP would be like. We sit on our asses, and we wait for the other dude to move first. And once they start moving, we develop counter strategies, or rather just, they move, and we're gonna attack them, and that's pretty much it. This Fire Emblem is not a game where you could play against other players that easily. It's very abusable. So that kind of gameplay, and if we were to turn it into something that we regularly have to do in arena, would probably kill the game, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it would probably kill the game.
They probably tested it internally, right?
I don't know. I don't work for Nintendo. Neither does my dog or my uncle or anything like that. But I guess.
Well, one of the things that you've also been playing lately, besides, Arc Knight's a big one. I want to get to that too. But you've also seemed to have a like for Monster Hunter, right? And that's something that. Did you play that from a long time ago? Or is that something you picked up with Monster Hunter World?
Well, I played it for a while. I played it with my buddy Mid that I talked about earlier. We played it together on the Wii. We were playing Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate or something like that. It was really cool. He's played it for a while longer than me, but we played even back then, and that was like 10 years ago.
I want to turn over some questions over to Void, because he's like our in-house resident Monster Hunter. I don't know.
Monster Hunter. Okay.
He has 3 titles just to show how sure he is of himself. Void had got me into Monster Hunter World, and I think he's a big fan. He's played it for years.
Is that how you're opening for me? Okay. So yeah, I started off Monster Hunter when I want to say high school and college years. And I started off with Monster Hunter the Third on the PSP. I think a lot of that still transferred over the spirit of multiplayer, and I think that's like a really unique experience on Monster Hunter. I don't know what your experience is. I don't know if you do a lot of multiplayer SOS on World currently.
Well, multiplayer-wise, I always just play with my friends. I don't really like the idea of playing in pugs. It just leads to bad feelings. And I think that Monster Hunter for a good while were just like handhelds, but it wasn't until the Wii version that I was like, oh, you know what? I'll get it for the Wii, because I wanted to play that game on the console instead of playing it on a stupid handheld. And then my friend and we played on the Wii together, because it had a much more stable connection. I just didn't really like the idea of playing that game on a handheld.
Right, true, but the only thing I liked about the handheld is that you could do a lot of local games with all your people there. So back in the 3rd generation of Monster Hunter, you could play it and you'd be like, oh hey, I dropped out. Monster still has multiplier for like the health of all 4 people, even though they were dropped from the lobby, so your ass is screwed if you started off early. A lot of the same stuff transferred over, I would say, on Monster Hunter World for multiplayer. I don't know how you feel about the mechanics. I know they changed a lot substantially from Ultimate to Monster Hunter. I don't know what's your main for, both on Monster Hunter Ultimate and then 3rd, or World.
Main as in my weapon?
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, I was a huge fan of the Switch Axe back in Ultimate, 3 Ultimate. My buddy and I, we would go and farm Brachydiels all day and build his weapons and armors using his Switch Axe. There was a lot of explosions involved and a lot of slime. Brachydiels was our favorite monsters, and as a matter of fact, we're actually on him right now in Iceborne. He's definitely our favorites, and we're probably gonna farm the shit out of him and get his weapons and blow shit up. But in terms of main, yeah, I use the Switch Axe. Then as I came into Monster Hunter World, I used Charge Blade.
Oh yeah.
But now I'm trying something new with the dual blades.
Not bad. Yeah, I think dual blade is an underrated class, mainly because it's just so berserker-ish style. If you like the momentum you get when you're like flinging yourself over, but you still want to have really high DPS, definitely a good class. Switchblade? Oh, don't even get me started on Switchblade. It's a very technique based, and I've seen some really cool stuff Switchbladers do. I have a buddy of mine that games with me and within our crew, and he's just a murder. Like he could drop any weapon and pick up another. He's like, oh, we need something to break. I'll get a hammer. We need more cutting damage. Let me get a great sword. And we're like, dude, none of these are your main, and he's just out there killing it. So I figured you'd be, versed enough to be like, hey, I'm gonna play these games and try out various amount of weapons. So I just wanted to see what your opinion was on World and its mechanics. Do you think they're well done?
Oh, well, I feel like, I mean, in terms of just being a Monster Hunter game, it's fine. It's fine as a game. I mean, I hear people complain about, oh, it's too easy, but I thought, it was a fun enough experience as a game itself. Trying out weapons is fun and all that, although I don't really have much time to try every last one of them. I have preferences, and I like spear-type weapons, I like cutting weapons, and we have friends who would use, like, hunting horns anyway, so we'll let them use their hunting horns while I go and slash up my enemies. But if you were going to ask me if there's anything that I don't like about the game, though, I would say, God, I hate the story. I hate how they're focusing on story. Like, what the fuck, dude? I'm like, we're trying to play together, right? And all of a sudden, oh yeah, it's time for the next monster that we fight. Oh, sorry, dude, you have to go and look at him first. You have to watch a cutscene. You have to first go on your own expedition and go into like this nest, and you have to see a stupid cutscene of this monster yelling at you. And after he yells at you, then your friends can join your game, or you could SOS or some shit like that. But you can't just like co-op the whole way through. You have to like sit through stupid shit like that. But back in the day, when we were playing the old Monster Hunter games, we're just, hey, there's a monster. Okay, well, there's a board of a couple flavored texts. Oh yeah, we gotta kill this because this guy is evil and bad. And now we're gonna go and join a game. We're gonna pick our weapons, and then we go in, we fight the monster. That's it. But in World, you have to sit through this shitty cutscene. You have to listen to the handler talk. You have to, in fact, when you have to like follow the handler. The handler just like walks at like, I don't know, it walks like a turtle. She just constantly talks, doesn't stop talking. I thought that Iceborne would be much better, but Iceborne was not. It was the same shit all over again. It really was the same shit all over again, except you got some new monsters. Well, cool new monsters, more like monsters that you fought in previous games, and monsters that have different colors. Ooh, big fucking deal. I mean, there are new monsters, but for the most part, I felt like Iceborne felt like the same shit all over again, really.
Yeah, but you also forget that you are probably not the main protagonist, the handler probably at this point with all those cutscenes. Yeah, unfortunately there's that, but I really don't understand the focus on story for so much for this game. I guess they wanted to... What's that?
I was gonna say I wouldn't care if there was a story as long as it was good, but it was like really unnecessary. If the whole point is you're hunting, a monster. I don't care if it was like text, but they really try to do animations and cinematics. I mean, it's not really needed. We know what we're dealing with, at this point.
Well, at least let us skip them. I mean,
yeah.
I like to co-op with my buddies, and I don't want to have to wait for them to watch the same cutscene they've seen a million times. Just let us skip the cutscenes.
So strange that they decide to kind of let that in the game. Apart from that, they were also working on a Monster Hunter movie. Seeing that most fans were really like, I don't know, some of them were on the fence.
Monster Hunter movie?
Did you see that?
No, I didn't. But that doesn't sound right.
There's a movie. The girl from Resident Evil is in it. She's one of the hunters.
Yeah, but it hasn't come out yet, though.
No, but they've been posting out what is it? Not the trailers, but
the screenshots of the set.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I mean, I guess the gist of it probably is the same how it went with all the other games. There's a huge monster. He's a threat. You gotta beat him back, but don't actually kill him. And he'll die on his own. That kind of thing.
I'm down with that. As long as they include my Palicos, I'm happy. I'll be able to see some real life fighting cats. I'm down with that.
Give me the Black Diablo, man. The Desert Diablo.
You can't even fight the Black Diablo. Why are you tripping?
I did it by myself, man. Don't start with me. Anyways, there is something. It's interesting if you look up. I don't know. You said that. I guess that was first news to you. I don't know. They have a couple of Chinese and Japanese actors in the the shots that they have, the screenshots for it. But it's weird because it's like a crossover between Monster Hunter and Resident Evil, which doesn't make a lot of sense for them to cross them over.
Wait, what? It's a what? I thought it's a Monster Hunter movie. Now it's Monster Hunter and Resident Evil crossover. What the hell is going on now?
Exactly. So you're understanding the confusion we're feeling here. So it has like, I guess they're both Capcom properties, but it's weird.
Dude, what the fuck?
I don't believe you for a second there. Monster Hunter movie, yes. But
a long time ago, it just reminds me of a stupid Flash video I saw a long ass time ago on Newgrounds. Making fun of these Capcom executives talking about making their new games. They're like, oh, we gotta use the T-virus zombies. Oh, we gotta use monsters. Oh, we gotta use Street Fighters. And then they try to put together a stupid-ass game. And this is actually happening right now, and it's actually terrifying. What's gonna happen? Dinosaurs fighting zombies? Well, what's the deal here? What is this movie? Why is this even a thing?
I'm telling you, I cannot stress this enough, man. I'm going to send you guys a screenshot as we're talking in the podcast here. I'm going to drop it here so you guys can see it. People at home, I'm going to send a link here on the description so you guys can get to what we were watching. But essentially, it's a screenshot of Alice from Resident Evil and, just random Monster Hunter out. Look at the outfit. I mean, they try to do some work.
She's not Alice in the story. What are you talking about? She's just another fighter. So the whole premise of the story is that the portal opens, people are able to travel from Earth to the Monster Hunter universe. These monsters are trying to go into Earth, and they're fighting them. Simple as that. And it just happened to be Alice from Resident Evil.
I don't know, man. From what the director was mentioning, there's a surprise there for those that are Resident Evil fans. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm
because it's the same director from Resident Evil.
Okay, all right. The point is, it's weird. I don't know how. Well, what do you think, Lou? I mean, obviously you're confused about this too.
Well, I mean, if you want my opinion on it, I think it's fucking stupid. But I mean, in terms of story-wise, it's fucking stupid. But I mean, I guess it could have some decent action. Action is always fun to watch. I mean, like, it's kind of funny and a little bit off topic. I was actually looking into the latest Terminator movie. What was it called again? Dark Fate or some shit like that.
That was review.
Yeah, that was a huge bomb. But I ended up watching a few clips of it, and the fighting scenes are actually kind of cool, you know. But the story, oh my god, dude, what the fuck did they do? Like, why would you kill John Connor right in the beginning? Like, what the hell were you thinking? That's not going to be a smooth move, and it wasn't. And of course, you know, the whole, feminist thing, but you know, we'll not go there. But
yeah, I think that's what happens when their contract is worth more than you can expect. So you're just like, how much is it for you to say a couple lines? All right, we'll just have to kill you off at the beginning. So it's just the easiest way to do this. We should get all the fans in. Once they're sitting down, they can't leave the theater or something, you know. For most, that's probably what they're doing. I mean, when you can really just, you know, plex it, whatever. Did you watch any of the... Okay, so I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, but you watched movies, right? And you obviously have a like for anime.
Well, I mean... well, movies are... I stopped watching movies after, like early 2000s. I mean, I hear them, but I don't really watch movies much anymore.
What was the last movie you remember watching? Because I know you said it's been a little while. You kind of skimmed more or less through it now.
Oh god, it was some stupid ass movie. It was so fucking stupid. In fact, it left such a sour taste. I just decided not to watch movies again. What the hell was it? It was some
Dragon Ball Evolution?
No, God, fuck, dude. I have better sense than actually going to the theater to watch that. You can smell the foul a million miles away. You can't watch that movie. Who would spend money to watch that movie?
I did. Exactly. It was the biggest mistake of my life, man.
Wow, I can't believe you. Why would you watch that movie after seeing the trailers and stuff like that? You know it's going to be bad.
I think they should make it number 2. I think they should make it number 2. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Don't you dare, bro. That's not funny. That's no.
No, they need to make it number 2. I am putting a petition online and going around houses, knocking on doors.
We're gonna block you from the internet, bro. You can't do this.
Except I want to see him with a Mustang instead of a Camaro this time.
look, if you want brain damage, that's the easiest way to get brain bombing. Like your cerebral cortex will explode within itself, like it did for many of us. We still haven't fully recovered, man. It was horrible. It was horrible. Like you didn't even look at the source material. The same like Avatar.
I know. As soon as I saw the trailer, I'm like, okay, that's it. That's it.
I want a crossover between Dragon Ball Evolution and Avatar. Like,
oh my god, dude!
They need to do it.
That kid had cancer, man. Stop it, man. He wasn't even in an Avatar. He was bald for some other reason, bro. He had chemotherapy. Look at that arrow on his head. Dude, it was horrible.
It's terrible. You're terrible.
This white kid named bro, this white kid named Keith played Goku, right, as an example, and he called his Mustang a Nimbus. I'm like, dude, are you serious, man? He was using guns in it. I'm like, dude, this is almost as bad as that, like those videos from YouTube where they had Batman use like machine guns and like he kept saying people were sleeping when he was like breaking their neck. He's sleeping. I'm like, dude, you killed him. Like, no, he's sleeping. That's exactly what happened, bro. It was horrible. So I'm guessing you made the right decision by not watching any more, current movies. Although you might have missed out a few good gems like Alita, Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah, I missed out on that. There's like I said, it was like really early that I stopped watching these movies. It's just a whole thing about movies in general. It's like you see these trailers sometimes, that you thought, oh hey, the movie is really cool, You see the trailer, you thought that, the whole movie would be as cool as the trailer, but nah, they stick their best lines in the trailer, and then once you watch the actual movie, it's just that one part that is good, and the rest of it is shit. And ever since then, I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna bother, if I really want to watch a movie, I'll just pirate it off, instead of going to some fucking theater and have to put up with waiting in line and dealing with people. I just, instead of doing that anymore, I'll just sit home and watch a movie.
Well, I have to ask your opinion, too, when it comes to, obviously, you really care about story. You play games with really good stories and games that keep you entertained with really good action. So those are some things I could really, really admire about you. And in general, that's always a good quality in people. But because of this, obviously, movies are maybe out of it. Do you watch any shows? Did you follow anything like, Game of Thrones, for example, or anything like this? Anything like that?
Nah, I stopped that a long time ago. It was, the early 2000s was the whole, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop watching TV and play games all the time. At the time it was, even back before 2000, it was like the late 90s, we were all just playing Diablo 2. And, yeah, we got so hooked on it. Jesus Christ, man. We spent like so much time just playing Diablo 2, farming the same fucking monster over and over again. And we thought that fun, but, well, it actually was. And
it is.
It actually was, I know. it didn't become boring to me until like later, but, at the time, that was the shit. And then, we ended up playing all kinds of different games throughout the ages. So it was movies and TV shows and such. I just stop following them. They get in the way.
So for entertainment wise, you mostly play games. You don't really like listen to audiobooks or like maybe watch newer anime for sure. But you didn't watch any of the new Dragon Ball Super anime episodes?
Well, no, I wouldn't say I stopped watching these things completely, but I mean I watch a couple things here and there. Oh, it picks up my interest. Like, I didn't watch the entirety of Super, but I thought, hey, the Samasu saga was kind of cool. Hey, I thought that the tournament was kind of cool, but I didn't really like watch the whole entire thing because I didn't really follow the series to the end. I usually read manga though. I like to read manga when it comes out. That's always cool.
So which ones are you like up to date with, and you kind of follow as soon as it comes out, or maybe not as soon as it comes out, but on current basis?
Like manga?
Uh-huh.
Oh, let's see. Right now, I read gambling manga like Kaiji.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
you are a man of taste.
Yeah, Kaiji is great, and I read Super, and I read the Boruto thing on Viz when it comes out. I read there was this there's a couple I don't know if I would call them mainstream series, but they're kind of popular. But there was a series about this guy who this yakuza who died and came back as a girl or something like that and became a badass. That was a real surprisingly good series, considering that, well, the story didn't seem to give off that vibe. It was actually surprisingly good. So I was reading that, but it's not mainstream, so I'd rather not talk about it. Well, what else is there? Let's see. Oh, I read Black Butler when it comes out, but it's also one of these things where, I only come out once a month, so it drives me crazy. And I guess weeklies, let's see, Chainsaw Man. I like that one. Chainsaw Man.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And what else? Oh, Hajime no Ippo. I read that too.
Yeah. You have a good variety, man.
Yeah, Hajime no Ippo's gone on for like 30-something years. Dude, I was a kid when I first read that. Now I'm like an old-ass man, and I'm still reading that.
Well, it's
crazy.
Taste doesn't change over the years. That's the one thing that we know for sure, right? Unless, you lose your tongue or something, which is not going to happen unless something extreme happens, right? Unless you're poking your tongue in places you shouldn't. But,
well, yeah, you'll be surprised. There's a lot of crazy-ass people out there who would put their tongue in places where tongues probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, I should retrieve that. You're right. You're right. we all know what YouTube is, and we all know how to search things. So you're for sure right. That's true. Well, yeah. So if you follow long-term ones, was there a few others that you also read? Because I wanted to ask you something regarding Shonen Jump manga, because you mentioned a few, but I don't want to get there yet. Do you have any other ones that you read?
Well, I mean, back then it was really the big three. We have our Naruto, we have our Bleach. And I even read a little bit of One Piece, but I never really got too much into One Piece. I thought that, I guess it's the art style, just didn't really sing to me. And what else did I read? Oh, of course, Claymore. But Claymore, definitely. Then there's Berserk. But Berserk, God, there's like no updates. It's like after a certain point, it just stops. It's ridiculous. I don't know what to do with Berserk. I love the series so much, but it just stops. And what else? Shit. Kind of hard to think of it like right off the bat, but I'm sure there are others. I like Akame ga Kiru was pretty cool. That was a good series. That ended, but I didn't really like the ending to it.
It almost felt like they rushed it.
Yeah, they definitely rushed it. There's a lot of things with mangas and anime in general where after a certain amount of time, they start, I guess, maybe kind of like, I don't know, the editors decides that, you know what, we gotta do something with the series or something like that. They end up writing themselves in a corner. It's kind of like how it is with games, actually, like with Fire Emblem. I feel like a lot of the times investors drive the directions of how the game should be going, and we end up getting steaming piles of shit because people want more money rather than, well, quality arts, shall we say.
Yeah, you can definitely see that with EA and other corporations like that, right? The loot boxes, hey, you want to play this? Well, how about you pay for it?
Yeah. They definitely went overboard with that.
Man, so when it comes to the manga you read, did you hear about the revival of Bleach? They're making another series after Burn the Witch came out?
Yes. I definitely caught up on that. I was like, oh, that could be kind of interesting. But we'll see, though. It's been a couple years now. It's been like 5 years now? I don't remember. Yeah. It's been a long time.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say they definitely have an advantage over things like Boruto, right? Because Boruto did a few things. It started off on a rocky foot. It's slowly, catching back up to, like, it's becoming its own thing. And it's still not there yet, but it's doing a good job, I think, compared to how it started. But Burn the Witch, the one shot for Burn the Witch was so good. I just hope it holds up because it looks like it kept the mystery going, What's your opinion?
But I'm a little skeptical myself as well. Just the same way you did with Boruto, because Boruto was, in a lot of ways, just like you trying to follow your dad's footstep kind of thing until it became its own thing. And when we saw the end of Bleach, we know that, oh, hey, Ichigo has a kid now too. What if it's gonna be one of those fucking series? Oh no, I hope not. It kind of worries me, but hopefully, we'll still get the old characters, because I really, I don't know. I just don't really like the whole generation shifting. It killed Soul Calibur 5, you know.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I think they should have distanced themselves. They should make references to the old series, but not have the actual living characters of the old series there, because that kills it. Because we know that their story ended at this point, and even if we liked it or hated it, we dealt with it emotionally in our own very way, right? But once you bring him into it again, you're like, dude, why? I was already happy that he became Hokage. Why are you doing now? You give him a different haircut, and why'd you do that? It's just
but I don't know. I also feel that if you're gonna continue a series, you might as well just continue with the same character that you already have. If you're going to do a generation shift, fine, but don't do it half-assed. But yeah. I guess I'm more of a guy who prefer the original characters more. I feel like we've grown attached to them over the years, and to see them, I don't know, I just don't really like the new Naruto. I guess that's pretty much all there is to say about it. It just feels so different. It's just not the same.
Yeah, I think the numbers show that too. A lot of people read but don't really read. They just kind of see what's new, nothing good. All right, I'll check in again a month. I still follow it, but man, it lost my interest a little bit, especially because I felt really hurt, man, when I saw Hunter x Hunter end really abruptly. I know that it was for his own, emotional, sanity, but I mean, man, he did Yu Yu Hakusho. It was great, and then this, I expected so much from X Hunter.
Well, to be honest, though, Yu Yu Hakusho, the Three Kings era didn't feel all that great either. I also felt that it was kind of rushed, but my God, dude, the Dark Tournament thing was the best. The best. Yeah. Then after that, the Black Chapter part was pretty good too. But after that, it was just Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I mean the Chimera Ant arc was also pretty good, but it wasn't anything close to the tournament arc. It was just amazing. I wish they would have found a way to keep that magic going, because he was doing such a good job, man. But he was getting sick, taking too long to finish those episodes. They shouldn't. It was cut too short.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Dark Tournament arc was kind of a hard act to follow. I feel bad for Black Chapter because, well, I had to follow that, but it did pretty well for what it is. It was a pretty good arc, but then after Black Chapter, I mean, you kind of run out of ideas.
I feel like that's what happened with Bleach with the Aizen saga. You remember Aizen was one of the...
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly... I was actually going to go and talk about that. After a certain point, right, when your character is, like, really strong and whatnot, and they still want to continue the series, it starts to become, like, where they have to pull villains out the ass from somewhere, and they have to still be stronger than your main character in order to keep things interesting. But in doing so, well, sometimes things don't quite go the way you want them to go. I mean, just look at Majin Buu. I didn't really like that saga. I mean, maybe other people like Majin Buu saga, but I definitely hated that saga. It should have just ended. It should have ended at Frieza. Okay, fine. You don't want to end at Frieza? End at Cell. Cell was really cool, and I thought that was a good way to end, with Gohan blasting the shit out of Perfect Cell and, carrying on Goku's legacy. That was a great way to end. That would have been the perfect place to end it. Nope, we're gonna continue with fucking some marshmallow monster that we have to fight, and Gohan's a nerd now, and he also doesn't save the world. It's Goku again who does this.
I actually like the Majin Buu series, though. I mean, it was not as good as the other ones, but I really enjoyed those.
They probably should have put Majin Buu. They should put Majin Buu before Cell. Cell should have been like, if they were gonna do it again, just change the storyline a little bit, make Majin Buu first, that ends, and then Cell finishes like the whole series. Because now you're stuck in this now he's fighting galaxies and gods and other cosmic beings. Like, come on, man. Like, when is it gonna end? Like, you're just, come on.
Well, that's what happens when you've got a profitable series. They want to keep milking it for all you've got. That's why there was the Buu saga, and then there was the GT. I mean, I can understand what demonic things about Buu saga. It wasn't all bad. I thought that there are some interesting moments. There's some cool scenes, and I thought that GT, for as terrible as it was, there was some good things about it as well. So I mean, I can totally understand why you would like the Buu saga.
I like the kid dude. Like I don't know. It's like the whole. I don't know. Maybe it might have been because I've been watching the Boo saga like more than the other sagas. I mean, the Cell saga was good. The Frieza saga was good. But for some reason, I just really enjoyed myself when I watched the Boo saga.
I think you.
All right. I mean, we have our favorites.
To your soda.
But
you know what I'm saying? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just want to know, like, what makes the Boo saga so interesting to you? Like, is it just because Boo is like, well, he's kind of crazy?
Boo's like, he's not a villain. Like in the beginning, like he was just like, I don't know, it's just clumsy, weird looking enemy.
Yeah, it would have been cool if he stayed that way, right? But then, he lost weight. He lost weight, went to the gym, and
right, no, exactly. But I don't know. I just feel like, well, they couldn't keep him. I can see, they couldn't keep him as this, like clumsy character. Obviously you have to like make him bigger and badder. I mean, come on, look at Cell, look at Frieza. It's just how it is. But I think that's just mainly the main reason why. Like I like the Boo saga, and then also the whole Majin Buu mark, and how Vegeta, like he always does, betrays everybody and then doesn't betray everybody. It's just I don't know. I just liked it. It was really entertaining for me to watch. I usually tend to go back, like if I want to rewatch the series, I tend to go back and rewatch the Boo saga instead of the Frieza or the Cell.
There's gonna be a lot of angry comments. I hope you know that.
No, that's fine. To each their own, right?
I mean, that's fair. I can understand. I mean, when Vegeta blows himself up, it was a pretty emotional moment. I thought it was cool.
Man, I cried, man. I thought it was. I literally, when I was watching it, it was coming out still, and it was actually serialized, and it was coming out episode by episode. I'm like, is it over? Are you serious? I mean, obviously, I don't have the context, the buoyancy to be able to see 2 seasons behind, but I thought it was over. And the most epic moment from that saga, even though it's not my favorite, was when Goku turned into Super Saiyan 3. I was like, this is so dope. And then he got whooped. And I'm like, oh, man, why would you do this? Like, at this point. And then I don't know, man. When Vegeta turned Super Saiyan 3, I was, like, super happy, man. But
wait, he never turned Super Saiyan 3?
Oh, right. He went Super Saiyan 2. And then, I mean, he was as equal almost to Goku. Even though
they had their equal fight. But, then he discovered that, oh yeah, you can turn Super Saiyan 3. They had an argument, but then they end up, having to settle that and merge and become Vegito, and then fight and turn into a goddamn chocolate and rip him to shreds.
I forgot that.
I love that scene.
Dude,
yeah, I love that scene so much. I mean, yes, but the whole thing where Vegito gets turned into a little chocolate ball and is ripping Majin Buu apart was actually pretty funny. I like that. I love that part a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I expected it. I didn't expect it to be. Well, I guess they argued so much they weren't even paying attention. That would make sense. That's really believable if they're both inside the same head.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway,
I wanted to ask you about like real life situations. So now we've come to the point where we see that how much growth you've had, right? Your channel itself is growing exponentially as the days go by. Obviously, you're now touching the Arc Knight series, which is obviously is gonna have a lot of attention brought to you, which is really cool. And again, you continue to play things like Fire Emblem, which is awesome. I'm glad. I hope you never stop playing. There was a time where you said you might stop. I'm done with this game. I'm like, no, like yelling into the computer. I'm like, I hope not, man, because there's only a few Fire Emblem people I actually follow because I love the game. Even though I, also have those moments where I really hate what it's doing to me when I'm trying to summon for Midori and I've already spent, I don't want to say the amount of money, but I'm like, dude, come on, man, I can't get it. So what you're letting this channel grow naturally, which is a beautiful thing. It's you build and people come. What is your end goal? Like, what would you like to see in the future for yourself?
Well, all right. So I don't know. I mean, I guess you're kind of right when I say I build a channel and then grows naturally, because I guess I'm not like the other YouTubers. I don't really care about the YouTube thing all that much. I mean, it may sound kind of weird to you, where I am right now. But I just make videos to put up on the thing. I just, put up, hey, whatever I'm playing, I just want to put it up for posterity, shall we say. It's not a very popular move. I don't think I'm going to become a very popular YouTuber, to be honest with you. I feel like I just, upload and play whatever the hell I want and just put it on there. Because, I don't know, I guess I just don't see it as a job or anything that I want to get too involved in, because YouTube is a very volatile thing. It's a dangerous thing to invest too fully in, because you never know what may happen on YouTube that'll screw you over. We've already went through a couple of adpocalypse already, and YouTube is a private site, so, if they want to fuck you over, they can fuck you over. You have no choice but to bend over and take it. So if you're going to invest too heavily on it, you better do, like, some seriously good job on it. You have to turn it into a career and all that. It's a very, very, very risky move. It's a very dangerous thing to do. And, I mean, like, I'm getting old. I don't really feel like I want to invest on that. I just want to play games. So, I mean, if Fire Emblem gets boring to me, but I highly doubt it will. I don't think it ever will. I mean, I'll probably stop playing and just play some other game. That's just how it is with life in general. You get bored of something, you move on to the next. I mean, I'm playing Arknights right now. Who knows? I'm gonna get bored and play some other game later. It's not like, even when it comes to Arknights, it's not like I'm doing really super well on it. I know this. I know this as a fact. I make so many videos, and like with Monster Hunter and such, it's like, a couple hundreds, maybe like 1,000 or 2. But it wasn't like how in Fire Emblem Heroes, like, oh yeah, I get a shitload of views whenever I feel like and shit like that. But, I just don't want to treat it as a job. I want to play whatever I feel like and show whatever I feel like. I can't, someone made a comparison to me and Phoenix Master the other day. But because of that clear that I did with Useless Path on the limited hero battle. Because I was have some struggles with using Useless Path, because, well, Useless Path is useless, and any attack would likely kill her. So it turns into a horrible escort mission, and, well, they're like, oh yeah, well, imagine that, fucking Phoenix Master, uses free-to-play units, and each time, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what, maybe Phoenix Master spent like 5 or 6 hours having to solve the map. Or maybe, Phoenix Master went in it and just had someone solve it. Or maybe he just looked on some Japanese fucking website, copied the whole entire strategy, and then just put it on YouTube, and nobody knows, because it's some crazy Japanese website that nobody goes to. You never know with these things, but I just hate being compared to other people. I don't care. I just want to play my fucking games. I'm a gamer at my core, and I don't want to treat YouTube as a job. YouTube channels that treats it as a job, and YouTube channels that don't, you can see the difference. You can literally see, like, in what the content that they make, the regularity of their content, and the fact that they don't shift their topics so readily. If you shift to another topic, like Arknights, for example, you tend to lose a lot of views. It's like what happens with Dragalia Lost. I end up quitting Dragalia Lost because it doesn't hold my interest anymore. It sucks for my viewers, I know. I feel bad about it, but, I mean, I just lost interest in it. Although, I mean, if I somehow manage to summon all the 3 Fire Emblem Heroes 2 guys, I will believe that as fate and go back to playing Dragalia Lost. I'm a very whimsical guy, shall we say. So in terms of future for YouTube, I don't know. I'm probably just going to be drifting around doing whatever, and maybe I might get lucky, like I did with Xenoverse and Fire Emblem Heroes, and maybe I'll become really big. If that's the case, great. If I don't, well, you know what? I'm still going to be the same. I want to remain the same person as I am. I don't want to change for YouTube. I'm always going to be the same guy. I don't want to bend over backwards and pretend that I'm a mentally sound man when I am not. I just want to play my games and talk about mentally ill things and pretend I'm a hero and being a chuny and all that stupid nonsense that I do. Instead of trying to mainstream myself, instead of not having to curse every other fucking sentence, I just want to do my own thing. Sorry about the rant, but that's just how it is.
No, it's fine. Actually, that's very admirable. I think that's one of the reasons why you've garnered such a a huge following, and I think the following is only going to get bigger as time goes on. I mean, it took years to get to this point. It's going to take some time to get further, even if that's not the goal. The fact that it's happening shows that you're on the right path, and you have one of the most diverse, actually diverse channels on YouTube. The fact that it shows that you're playing things that you like, and you're not even if you were sponsored, you're choosing, like, the sponsorship ends when I lose interest, and that's a great refreshing thing in a YouTuber or in a person in general, because a lot of people will follow the same job for years on end because they're just too scared of taking a risk, or just they don't want to change. They get so used to the routine. But you've clearly not done that, and that's a really admirable. That's a really cool thing about you. And I say this as someone who's followed you since I think the beginning of the Fire Emblem career. Or the time you started playing the game. It's really admirable to see that. And I followed other YouTubers. I mean, you mentioned Phoenix Master is one of them, but it feels really weird. When someone talks, you can really sense somebody being natural, and you can also tell when someone is almost like scripted or trying to be careful not stepping on certain stones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can completely understand that. When you're trying to take it as a job, you have to watch what you say, because otherwise, demonetize. I curse every other fucking sentence, and I can't help it. It's just the way I am. So I much prefer that style. If it does well, fine. If it doesn't, oh well.
Well,
I mean, I can understand. Oh, sorry.
No,
sorry,
go ahead.
I went into a rant again. I went to a rant. I'll end it real quick. I'll end it quick. I'm just, but I can still understand though why other people would want to take it seriously, because it is their livelihood. Right now especially, we're dealing with a plague. We can't go out. This is the only threat that they've got to stay pretty much alive, really. So I mean, I can understand why they have to do what they do. It's just not my thing, and I don't want to risk it with YouTube. I mean, like you said, risk and such. But to be honest with you, I'm the same way too. I don't want to take risk on YouTube, because it's a dangerous, very volatile environment. I much rather just have a regular ass job like everyone else and use YouTube as YouTube. Because if you focus on it as a job, it no longer becomes you. It becomes whoever's watching your video. It's whoever's watching you video tube or corporate tube, depending on whoever's sponsoring you. So YouTube just isn't the same as it was back in 2006 when it's actually YouTube, when people made videos for free because they wanted to make videos. I'm still the same way, just because I'm old school, but other people aren't the same.
Yeah, while you're making videos that you're producing content that you yourself would watch. It's entertaining, it's fun, it's yourself, and that's again what the goal would be for everybody. But until when the money starts getting involved, that's when it gets hard to be yourself, right? Like you said.
Indeed.
So I wanted to ask you, in order to close out this, I know we've gotten to know you pretty well, I think, and I think for the listeners that are listening to you, I eagerly encourage you. Please check him out. He's awesome. You won't regret it. If it's content that you don't really feel like it fits you, at least check it out. You lose nothing for doing that. And he has such a wide, variety of games that he's played. Even as you say, if you lost interest, you can at least follow him up to that point and kind of maybe get an idea of why he lost interest in that thing in the first place. For whatever reason, sometimes it's busy, sometimes it's just not an interesting game anymore. But I definitely want to say, well, maybe it might expand to another conversation. So I just want to word carefully this question. What's your opinion on what's happening now? Like the whole world has never been stopped in the way that it's a great pandemic that some people say happens every 100 years. If you go back to the Spanish plague, the bubonic plague before that, what's your idea of how this will change the future going forward? It's not really going to affect you maybe too much, because maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does. What's your opinion on it?
Oh, it affects everyone. It affects equally everyone. It is a very, very volatile situation right now. Incredibly dangerous. You can't even go out without feeling fear that you might bring home some stupid-ass plague and you kill your family. It's terrible. I mean, I've got some job opportunities that's been offered to me even now It's like, hey, you want to do this? You want to do that? I'm like, listen, dude, my mother and my grandmother lives with me, and if I were to bring that horrible disease back, they die. I can't take it. I'm sorry. And right now, I focus on making money on doing business online, investing in stocks and shit like that. But even then, I mean, it's not the same as actually going out and working. It's really annoying right now. I just sit home all day. It's kind of funny because you think that I have all the time to play games. I actually found that I don't feel comfortable right now. I'm just like, I don't even know what time I sleep anymore. I play Monster Hunter World with my buddies. I play till like 6 a.m. and then I sleep like all the way like until like 3 in the afternoon, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, what the fuck? I feel like shit. I'm so tired. I don't want to do anything. And then I don't do anything. It's kind of funny. It's pretty terrible, in fact. So
It's
this
funny
pandemic is... Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to mention that it's kind of funny just because the rest of the world kind of sees what it feels like to be a gamer, right, for the first time. But yeah, this pandemic is horrible, man. But it definitely kind of equalizes the rest of the world. Those people that lived with money and wealth and excess now suddenly get their valves shut off because the income isn't coming in as it used to, and they're like, wow, I've never felt this. I haven't felt this in years, maybe, or never felt this at all. It's a great equalizer of the world.
I mean, now I kind of understand why you want to word it carefully, because this is leading into a conversation, because I feel that, well, what you say is true. There are people out there who are taking advantage of this situation and profiting off of it.
Yeah.
Those filthy parasites. That actually, there are people who buy like a shitload of fucking toilet paper just to resell them. Of course, they didn't work out for them because, you don't need that much fucking toilet paper. The fucking disease doesn't give you the runs. I don't know why that whole thing became a thing to begin with, but well, it did. I mean, and I saw something on Imgur the other day about a story of a guy who spent $10,000 on like toilet papers and shit. He was hoarding the shit. He had 20 guys working under him to buy that shit out so he can resell them. He couldn't. He tried to return it to the supermarket. You know what the fucking supermarket goes? No, fuck you. He fucking deserved it. I like that. There was also this other guy who was trying to do that, and I don't know. I don't remember how that story went with the FBI agents and stuff like that. But I remember, I guess because price gouging was one of these things is illegal or something like that. The FBI paid him a visit. They were gonna get rid of his stuff, and I don't know how the whole story goes because I didn't read it.
Are you talking about the one that the man ended up donating everything because there's no way he could sell it and he was going to get in trouble for posting it? Is that the one you're referring to, or a different one?
No. It didn't end as pretty as that. No. It's some other situation. This dude, instead of coming clean and all that, I don't even know how the whole thing went. I know he lied a whole bunch, and then afterwards, I think the whole thing ended with him coughing at the FBI agents. Oh. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've got corona," and the FBI agent slapped him with a $40,000 fine and called him a terrorist or some shit like that. I don't remember how. And I think he got jail time as well. I don't remember how the whole thing went because I didn't read the story. I was just told to me in the middle of a Monster Hunter World game. So
wow.
I was just like beating on this dragon. I heard this deplorable story. I thought that was kind of funny.
Technically, he was beating on his dragon too, but that ended up.
Yeah, I guess so. That's all you could probably do at this point in a jail cell. But yeah.
Wow.
It's just that a lot of people try to profit off of this as well, and sometimes they do. I mean, like I was just talking about, the stock market is like the Wild West right now. But Amazon is a good stock to invest on, although it's risen up quite high now. I don't think you can. I don't know how safe it is to play with it now, but if you had invested on Amazon earlier, you make a lot of money right now. They're going up because of all the deliveries that people need to do.
Oh yeah. The same with Apple, right? I mean, they're taking this opportunity. They've already publicly announced that they're looking into purchasing Disney. After it was like published that, if some reporter had jokingly said, if Apple wanted to, they could technically just buy Disney for what they're worth. And then a couple weeks later, you see them saying that they're seriously considering the possibility of purchasing. But again, Disney's already at a huge loss because their parks are closed. I mean, already they kind of deserve it for what they've done to like franchises, in my opinion. But it's just not fair because they've lost so many employees. They furloughed a few of them, and the same with Apple, you see like the scummery, the real corruption from when they say that if we just give tax breaks to big companies, they're gonna give you jobs. And that's not true because we just see what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Apple has
right
enough
now,
money to yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Right now, exactly. It's a time where people get weakened enough so that they get eaten up by other companies. As what you were just saying with Apple, with trying to think about buying Disney. It's the same shit that Amazon does. I mean, Bezos. That's one of Bezos' favorite strategy, just buying people out. Walmart does the same shit as well. So now with the plague affecting Disney so badly, if Apple does buy Disney, it could be a very, very, very interesting thing coming forward. It could be extremely profitable, or it could be extremely bad. But I mean, I hope that this disease doesn't go on for the rest of this year. But it's not looking good. It's not looking good right now. And
so I want to say this. I know that I know Void is gonna have to leave soon, and I don't want to keep you on for too long. But I do have questions regarding this because this is some of the topics I wanted to talk to you about because I was sure that you might have some opinions and insight on what you feel that is happening, and maybe on the world in general. And often in this podcast, we end up talking about philosophy. We end up talking about current events, and we have long discussions. But I don't want to keep it for too long, so I want to make this question probably brief. And if you feel like you can talk about it more, please, let's go ahead and do that. But it's up to you. The question I want to ask is, seeing how things are working out right now, the one thing that is very common, I don't know if you live in the States or in Canada, or I don't know where you live, but regardless, it's very important to remember history, right? In the year 2000, we just talked about this in a recent episode, there was if you follow the stock market, you must be familiar with the tech bubble, right? In the stock market in the year 2000.
Of course.
So once that busted open, as for lack of a better phrase, we know that months later, I think it was about 9 or 10 months later, we saw the events of September 2001. So stock market crashed, and then mysteriously, coincidentally, whatever, we were attacked. America was attacked. That's what they say, but who knows, right? The September 11th on the Twin Towers. So war was an excellent way to distract this society on what just happened. I think the number I remember was something around the 11 to 12% of the economy was affected because of the tech bubble crash. Millions and hundreds of millions of dollars are gone, poof, wasted. So that's one thing. And then we forward approximately 7 years later, 2008. The stock market crashed in I think March or February of 2008. I don't remember too well. And coincidentally enough, 14 months later, in 2009, when the full effects of the stock market crash were really felt, people lost their jobs, people were losing homes left and right because the mortgages doubled and tripled because bad deals and no jobs, so you can't pay the rent. I don't have to explain that. I think and the listeners know. But at that point, 2008 was also an important date because it was around the time where they had declared war on the Islamic State because the original war was coming to a close and they needed a way to extend it. But it also served as a way to get resources because obviously when the stock market crashes and the economy fails, they need something, right? Might be going off on a ledge by saying that, but okay, so that's one thing. To my understanding, that's what happened. But now we fast forward a couple years as the economy gets better, and this unfortunate natural or man-made, it doesn't matter, this incident occurs. That's what matters. We can fight and everybody can discuss how it happened, why it happened, but it did. What scares me, and I was talking to the guys, and they all have different opinions, but what scares us, the more we think about it, the more we know that the routine is crash, economy fails, need to support and get resources, and that's a war, right? It seems to always be that.
Yep.
What do you agree with that? Maybe or maybe not. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I didn't expect to be asked such a political question at a time like this, but
oh my bad.
I don't
I
don't really agree with these things, but in fact, I probably won't even be able to answer you straight answer, but I can understand it like this. And as we just talked about with regards to Apple and Disney, a situation like this is an opportunity for hungry wolves to tear the shit out of people. And going to war over resources is something that humans have been doing for thousands of years. It would not surprise me in the least. Do I support it? Probably not. We're right now going to war, and with our current technology, is a lot different from back then when we were fighting with spears and swords. Right now, war could turn into something really, really deplorable, shall I say? It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't really like modern war. Modern war is not the same as it was. We were riding on horses and slashing people with spears and with swords and stabbing people with spears and all that fun stuff. There's no glory in it. War nowadays is just about rich people fighting other rich people, or just people getting stealing resources from others. It's just I mean, war has always been the same. I mean, it's always been like that, but it's a lot more apparent now. You can really feel it. So I am completely opposed with war. I just want to make war in video games. I don't want to make war in real life. It's fucking stupid.
True. Yeah, I feel the same way. I hope that it doesn't happen. One cannot ignore history because it tends to repeat itself. But I really hope this period of peace was the longest one in known history. But I really hope it continues. It's scary to think about it, because I do remember the quote from World War I where they had writers explain what had happened when the French army met the German army for the first time in a battlefield, right? They had descriptions that the French were wearing their, family heirlooms. They were wearing their, uniforms nice and tidy and clean and pressed. Their white and blue, proud colors, their feathers on their hats, their swords at their side, riding their horses with muskets that take forever to reload. And they look across the field, and there you see an entire army of platted gray German soldiers with machine guns and tanks. And they were like, what? And obviously 31,000 people died of that first meet. And that was a horrible defeat for them. But I mean, we don't know what kind of technology can be used in this one. And I really hope we don't ever have to find out. But I feel like there might be ways to create peace. I mean, there's a lot of resources in the world if they just find a way to work together. I mean, everyone's the same. Everybody wants to grow old with their family, maybe have kids, or maybe have a loved one, significant other, enjoy their life, eat, prosper, and, enjoy that time. But everyone's ways to get there is so different. I just really hope everyone can understand everybody has the same common goal. That's just my thought on it. I really hope it doesn't turn out that way. But I really hope that after this, everyone learns to kind of get along and maybe not depend on technology in order to interact with each other as much. I mean, we still need it and it's important, but I really hope for that. And I think the podcast crew was very on the same page for that. I don't know if that's the same aspiration that you hope that this is what's going to come out of this rather than, the obvious. I think that what skeptics are saying.
I mean, I understand. I think a careful balance of everything is important. I mean, even now, we're talking on Discord. Having this online interaction is important. It connects people together in ways that we couldn't do before. Like, how do I put this? There was a comparison before about how crime feels like there's a lot more crime going on. But you know what? Crime has always been kind of the same. You just feel like there's more because now we get exposed to them much more readily through Reddit or news or whatever channels that we see. I feel like online is a very important thing, but I also feel that going out itself is also important. I'm more an advocate of a balance rather than one thing or another. But right now, certainly, I can feel a lot of people are going crazy at their homes and wondering what the fuck they're gonna do. I mean, not everybody gets to do their businesses online like I do. So right now, people are really going to worry about how they're gonna keep themselves going. I mean, like the government stimulus thing might not even be enough. And in fact, it's a dangerous move to do. If you're printing money, we're going to lose out a lot of value on our dollars. It's a very, very sticky situation where we are right now. And I dread to think about it. I'd rather not have to think about it. I'd rather just be playing games, as a matter of fact. So I guess that's pretty much all I can say on the matter.
Well, that's a good way to end it, I think. Again, for everybody who's listened to this, we thank you. I'm very happy that we got a chance to talk to you. I really hope it's the first of other times where you can, come in and talk about some of the subjects we talk about. But for sure, as some of the listeners know, segments on like gaming. The new things are coming out, like Valorant and obviously Fire Emblem Heroes. And I hope in the future we have you back on, and that'd be cool to be able to have those discussions again in the future.
Sure, no problem. Give me a call.
So can we tell them if you guys need to look for Lubu? He has a Discord, and he also has a YouTube channel. Obviously, if you want to plug that at this time, it's up to you.
I mean, just give it as a link or something. I'm not going to be able to be like, oh yeah, follow my Discord, my discord.com, the QWER555, they say blah, 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 blah. Just drop them a link. Everything will be just fine if you do that.
Will do. Okay, I hope you guys follow him. He's an awesome guy. We'll drop it there, and humble man. I'll make sure everyone, knows about it. Thank you, and signing off, Void, guys.
Yep, thank you. Take care.
All right, and thanks for being here again, once again. It was awesome talking to you for a bit.
Problem.
Thank you, man. Goodbye, guys.